The most fundamental principle in business structuring is this: separate what you do from what you own. In the world of business, risk is not an if, but a when. Every day, business owners face a complex web of potential liabilities, client lawsuits, workers' compensation claims, contract disputes, and product liability issues. Yet, many entrepreneurs commit a critical error. They house all their different activities, operations, and valuable assets inside a single legal entity. When you combine everything you do with everything you own, you are essentially placing your entire life's work on a single financial card. If a client sues your business, or if a supplier files a claim, every single asset inside that entity is exposed to satisfy that judgment. This means your real estate, your intellectual property, your cash reserves, and your machinery can all be seized to pay off a single operational liability. This is why separation of activities is the structural foundation of every effective risk management strategy. Separation of activities means placing different business functions, asset classes, or risk levels into completely different legal entities. The core of this strategy is the operating holding structure. In this setup, you create an operating company that runs the day-to-day business. This is the entity that employs people, signs contracts, interacts with clients, and takes on all operational risk. It carries the liability. Then, you establish a separate holding company. The holding company does not conduct business with the public. Instead, it simply owns the high-value assets. This includes the real estate, the intellectual property, patents, trademarks, and heavy machinery. The operating company then leases the real estate or licenses the intellectual property from the holding company under documented, arm's-length agreements. If the operating company faces a devastating judgment, its creditors can only reach the assets owned by that specific operating company, which are typically minimal. The holding company's assets, where the true long-term value of your business sits, remain safely protected behind a structural firewall. This principle of containment extends far beyond a simple operating holding split. Consider a real estate investor with multiple rental properties. If you hold 10 rental properties in a single LLC, a slip-and-fall lawsuit at one property can result in a judgment that allows creditors to seize all 10 properties. By placing each rental property into its own dedicated LLC, you create a system of watertight compartments. A liability in one property is contained to that specific property and cannot threaten any of the others. The same logic applies to businesses operating multiple distinct service lines or product offerings. If your company operates a consulting practice, a software product, and a commercial real estate portfolio through one entity, a single product liability lawsuit from your software line can wipe out your consulting practice and your real estate. Separating them into 3 distinct entities under a parent holding company ensures that each business line stands on its own, protecting the others from a cascading failure. For businesses with significant workforces, this structure can even include a dedicated employment entity or a professional employer-organization arrangement. To isolate employment-related risks, such as wage and hour claims or wrongful termination disputes, from the core operating assets. However, building these structural firewalls is only half the battle. They are not self-maintaining. To withstand legal scrutiny, these entities must be operated with absolute discipline as genuinely separate legal entities. This means maintaining separate bank accounts, separate bookkeeping, separate contracts, and documented intercompany transactions. If you treat your holding company and operating company as a single business enterprise by intermingling funds, paying personal expenses from corporate accounts, or failing to execute written lease agreements, a court can pierce the corporate veil. Under the doctrine of single business enterprise liability, a judge can disregard your entities entirely and allow creditors to reach across the entire structure. The goal of separation is not to create complexity for its own sake. It is the deliberate containment of risk, ensuring that the failure or liability of one single activity does not cascade into everything you have built. Subscribe to learn how to design business structures that protect across all your activities.